Hey, this is Mad Movie Mark on the Mad Movie Mark Movie Review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 1990 Icelandic drama, The Juniper Tree.
Just got to stop this.
Hey, hold on, you haven't, there's no need to get nasty. You haven't even heard my review yet. I'm reviewing every movie that has a 100% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm giving them all a score of 1 to 10. After I watch them and score them all, I will rank them from worst to best. I started the 1920 silent movie era. I'm going chronologically in order, and I am now at 1990 with The Juniper Tree. This movie has a 100% fresh rating from the critics and a 60% fresh rating from the audience, which is quite terrible. But I don't understand it. I thought this movie was quite fantastic. It is based off a Brothers Grimm fairy tale, and it stars Bjork, who I did not know was an actress. I just thought that she was a singer. So this movie is incredibly dark in its material. It is depressing at times. It is bleak. It's shot in black and white. It is an hour and 19 minutes long. It has exceptional cinematography. The black and white just pops, and it is just gorgeous. I think I'm just a sucker for black and white movies, and it has exceptional writing and great acting. So it basically has everything that you could ever want, but the ending is incredibly depressing. So when this movie starts, we are introduced to two sisters named Margit and Katla. Now, Katla, she is the older sister, and when the movie opens up, we see a dead body of a witch in a body of water. Now, Margaret asks if this witch was stoned, and also if their mother was stoned. And Katla says, yes, our mother was stoned and burned.
But we haven't come far enough away from home.
Did they stone our mother?
Before they burned her. We will go where no one knows us.
And with just that, you can kind of get that they're a witch. Now, it doesn't come out and say that they're witches in the beginning of the movie, but that kind of tells you that that's where this is going. So they believe that if they stay where they are, that they will be found and they will be accused of being witches as well. So they have to hightail it out to somewhere where no one can find them. So they end up at the house of Johann and his son Jonas. Now, Katla, she ends up creating this spell to make Johann fall in love with her, and this spell will make it so that he does not know he's under a spell. He just believes that he's madly in love with this woman. Now, Margaret and Jonas, they hit it off really well. They become friends. Jonas takes Margaret to the grave of his mother, where he says that he has to visit it every day or his mother will kind of like forget who he is. And Margaret says that her mother passed away as well, but she doesn't know like where she's buried at, and but she doesn't believe that her mother will ever forget who she is. Now, it's uncertain to me in this movie if Margaret actually has witch powers. Later on in the movie, it seems like she is maybe developing some powers, or something else is going on, because she's able to see her mom like is plain as day on this like cliff that's overlooking these rocks. And later on in the movie, she says that she has like visions of her mother, and I think her mother also had visions. So it leads me to believe that either she's a witch or she's starting to develop witch powers. Now, periodically throughout the movie, Johann, it seems like he is starting to remember that maybe he's not in love with this woman, and like maybe he really doesn't know who she is.
Johann? Johann?
Why are you here? You don't belong here.
Jonas is able to decipher for himself that Katla, sorry, I keep butchering her name, is a witch, and he brings it up quite often that she's a witch, that she doesn't, that she wants them to forget about his mom, and that he doesn't want his dad with her. He brings this up a lot. He even brings it up to Margaret. Margaret denies that she's a witch. Later on in the movie, Jonas and Katla will be together on like this cliff area, and Jonas approaches her and says like, "You're a witch. I don't want you to be with my dad anymore. You're poisoning his mind," type of thing. And my mom will not let you take my dad and me from her. We're always going to remember who she is. You're not going to give the away. You're not going to get the memory out of our head, and you're not going to take my dad away from me. Now she says, "Well, if your mom is so strong, why don't you jump off this cliff and see if you can fly?" Now you can tell that Jonas is a little. He has some trepidation about this. I mean, he is just a kid. He's like 10 years old. It's like a part of him does believe that his mom will save him and that he will fly, but maybe a part of him doesn't believe that. So there's kind of like this conflict with himself. So he ends up jumping off the cliff, and he unfortunately ends up dying.
You can't hurt her, and you can't hurt me because she won't let you.
Do you really think so?
She gave me charm, so nothing can hurt me.
Then prove it. Can you fly down from here? Will she protect you then?
She will. She'll turn me into a bird.
And this comes like after this comes like the worst, the hardest scene in the movie. Now I will say the scene would be harder if it also wasn't kind of like an episode of South Park. So what she does is she cuts off the fingers of Jonas, and then she sews his mouth shut. And she says that like you will never be able to speak of this. You'll never be able to say a word to anyone. I'm assuming she means like maybe in the afterlife. That's why she sews his mouth closed, and she puts like one of the fingertips that she cut off in his mouth. I'm assuming that that's like a witchy ritual that you do so that people in the afterlife can't talk, or even if you're like reincarnated and you come back or something, that you're unable to remember and talk about the events that happened. So she ends up doing that, and then with the second finger that she cuts off, she puts it in like a soup, and she makes her his dad Johann eat it, but like she does some kind of spell to where he doesn't realize he's eating his child's finger. He's just doing it, which, like I said, is like an episode of South Park where Cartman made this kid eat his parents after he killed his parents. One of the most gruesome, hard to watch South Park episodes. But that's what he does. That's what she does. She makes him eat the finger of his child. Now, Margaret also sees pieces of finger in her soup, and she realizes what's going on, and she realizes that Katla accidentally killed, well, she says accidentally killed Jonas. Now, later on in the movie, not that much farther into the movie, but later on in the movie, she goes to where Jonas's mom is buried. This is where Katla spread the ashes of Jonas as well, and she sees a tree. She sees a bird in the tree, and she says she runs over to Johann, and she says, Katla killed Jonas, but he came back as a bird. He came back as a bird. He's gonna, and she's very excited about it, that he came back and that he's going to spend like the rest of his bird life with Johann. Now he kind of, after this, Katla hears what's going on. She rides off into the sunset. Oh, and also she's pregnant with Johann's son. She said it's a son. This is supposed to be like olden days, so like I don't know how they determined that she's having a son, but she says, "I'm pregnant with your father's son." So she ends up riding off into the sunset. At the end of the movie, it ends up just being Johann and Margaret. Johann ends up saying that he doesn't believe that Katla killed his son on purpose. I don't know if that's just because he's still like under this witchy spell that he was under, or if he actually believes that that's what happened. But Margaret agrees that she doesn't think that she killed him on purpose. And then he kind of gets on a horse and rides away, and that's the entire movie. It's a really short movie. It's an hour and 19 minutes, which bring on more of those movies. I'll take an hour and 19 minutes any day, especially since the next movie that I'm reviewing is going to be 4 hours long. But yeah, I thought this movie was absolutely incredible. It was hard for me I've said this before in other reviews that I've done, but now that I have an 8-month-old daughter, it's hard for me to see things in which children are dead. Like the whole time, I figured he was going to jump off the mountain, but I was like, oh God, please don't jump off this mountain. Just please don't jump off the mountain. Don't kill yourself. But like deep down inside, I knew he was going to, and it's very hard to watch children perish in movies, to watch them being treated poorly in movies. It is more difficult now that I'm a father, and it does kind of hit home more. I think that's maybe why I am more empathetic of these movies, why these movies affect me in a way that maybe they wouldn't before. But aside from that, aside from how sad the ending of this movie is, and also it's really sad that Katla kind of manipulated Johann this whole time. He was basically just like a robot that she used. He didn't know that he didn't have feelings for her, which is also incredibly sad. But the cinematography, like I said, is fantastic. I love the black and white in this movie. It looks absolutely phenomenal. The acting, especially Bjork, who I didn't know was an actress, I thought, okay, this could go either way. She's like 25 in this movie. I think this movie was supposed to come out in like 1986, but it was on a very small budget, and they didn't have enough money to finish it until 1990 when it came out. She was like 21 when it started filming, and then she ended up being 25 at the end. And she does not look 25 in this movie. I think she's supposed to play a child who's as old as Jonas, or maybe a little bit older, and he's like 10 years old in this movie. But she doesn't look her age, and she's a really great actress. I thought she did a really fantastic job. She really has the most amount of acting to do in this movie, her and Jonas, the other child actor. Child actors are feast or famine. They're either really bad or they're really good. There's not a whole lot in between, in my opinion. But I thought they were both incredibly fantastic in their line delivery and their emotions that they were showing. Jonas was incredibly believable as a son who is trying to protect his father, a son who is trying to, ward off the evil spirits that's attacking his father, and he does it in a way that's not annoying, which is really hard to do when you're young. But he did an incredible job of it. The pacing of this movie is perfect. Yes, it is a slow-paced movie, but it's an hour and 19 minutes. It's not like Stalker, that's a slow-paced movie that's like almost 3 hours or whatever it was. This is a slow-paced movie, but you don't have to, like, it's not a drag. You're not dragged through an entire lengthy movie. It's really fast. It ends really quickly. They tell the story that they want to tell. There's no like real fluff in this movie. There's I think it's perfectly it's just enough time to tell the story that they want to tell, and they did it beautifully. Direction is great. The story is great. I really loved it. The only thing, like I said, I wasn't a fan of is the child dying. But what are you gonna do? It's based on a Grimm's fairy tale, so you have to be true to the subject material. Yeah, the 60% that the audience gave this, I really don't understand. I did something I don't normally do. I went and read some of the audience reviews just to kind of, maybe like I'm wrong in loving this movie and thinking that this movie is like beautiful in a way and thinking that this movie is incredible. And a lot of the comments were just like, this movie is slow paced, nothing happens in the last 10 minutes, which I don't understand because the last 10 minutes is when the son dies, so like how could nothing happen in the last 10 minutes? But a lot of it had to do with the fact that they hate black and white and that it was slow paced. Yes, those are both correct. But if you want to see a slow-paced movie that's hard to get through, go watch Stalker, and then watch this, and tell me which movie is hard to get through, and which movie is slow, and which movie is painful, because it's not going to be this movie. Anyway, I thought this movie was fantastic. Not quite a 10, but I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. And yeah, I hope you join me next time. Now, this next movie I'm going to watch is 4 hours. So if I do get to this movie this week, it's probably not going to be till Saturday. And that is La Belle Noise. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's from 1991. I have no idea what it's about. I haven't even looked at it yet. I just know that it's 4 hours. So I hope you join me next time when I review that. And let's have some more really great movies like this one. Thank you. I hope you have a great day.